Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm here. I'm glad to be here. Let's see. We're streaming. I'm a couple minutes early, so I'll wait as people kind of come in. It's let's see, 11. It's 10:58 here, my time. So I hope you all are doing good as you come in. I'm pretty excited to be talking about this, and I'm going to get a handle of the live stream options here. And I'm actually in my mobile office today, so but I didn't want to miss this just because I've been putting it off for a minute. But I think it's a really important conversation to have, and one that I'll often talk to with clients that I have in regards to some of these concepts, depending on where they're at or some of the tragedies that I see. There's some commonalities amongst clients, and Grafted In started back in July of 2014. And I'll just kind of give a little backstory while this is all kind of coming up. But yeah, Grafted In started back in 2014. July of 2014 is when uh, I went to a LegalZoom and overpaid to get an LLC. But that's another story for another day. Um, yeah, I didn't realize that you could just really just go to the state and request a license, and it's like $50 opposed to the like 250 or $300 I paid to have it done with LegalZoom. But that's not a LegalZoom thing. They were pretty thorough, but I didn't need everything that they had. So yeah. With that said, I've had some reoccurring things that come up. I moved into consulting this year exclusively over just delivery of like SEO services or doing some um, web design projects and stuff like that. It's just where personally I've seen the greatest return on the investment for the clients. My clients have been the actual consulting aspects, and so with that said, there's a reoccurring issue that comes up with every client that I've worked with, and I mean every client. And one of that is that they've attempted to outsource some of the services that they've looked to have provided for, and typically they're around digital delivery. And so, what I want to do here, I want to actually pull up. If you're not following me on LinkedIn, you can find me. I think it's Gary M Live, but I did put like a little outline here. I think I did it in the Facebook group as well. There is a Facebook group. It's Grafted In Community. So if you just search for that, you'll be able to find it. But yeah, so really the issue is when it comes down to who do you have in charge of your marketing. That's the issue that I want to talk about. This isn't going to be like nobody's going to give me like stars for this one. Not only is the subject not like glamorous, but it kind of goes against the grain of what a lot of conversations are around marketing right now. So I don't suspect people are going to be cheering me on and thinking that what I have to say is amazing. But regardless how it's taken, I think it's important enough to convey. And because it's repeated time and time again, if you have a different contextual component or a different way to look at how you're providing marketing services for your clients, and you don't start with the mode of delivery, it gives you a much more broader aspect of how things are happening. And so what I mean by that is one of the problems, and I'll get into this a little bit more into the live. One of the problems is that when you start with saying I'm a digital marketer, you're starting with how you're going to deliver a message. So that's your lead. And so I don't necessarily have a problem with digital marketers. I have a problem with digital marketers being in charge of marketing or the marketing of a business. So businesses will hire digital marketers or bring digital marketers on or get a subcontractor or hire a firm or agency to do digital marketing, and they'll be in charge of the entirety of their marketing campaigns, all the marketing campaigns. And the problem with that is you're answering how you're going to deliver the message before you really understand the audience. So I guess probably the best thing here to do is to kind of back up and talk a little bit about what digital marketing is. And if you look at the history of how marketing has been delivered, I think it's a fascinating conversation to go back to early Egyptian modes of delivery and up to even more recent books like Clyde Hopkins' Scientific Advertising, and you look at David Ogilvy and others, and just see how different modes of delivery have been instituted over time to find the audience, the prospective audience that people are looking for. And so what you do is you'll see that there have been different modes that have been popularized over time. Some of those modes are things like, obviously, like print, right? So that's like one of the first ones, like print. And I mean, you go back to like brothel houses with etched in stone arrows to indicate where they were at. That's like early form marketing. But print was a big one. And so print was popularized. And I want to talk a little bit about why print is really important in today's conversation, not just about the mode of delivery, but some of the background as to why it was important. But you had print, and then you had radio that came out next. And the thing about radio was, the assumption was radio was going to destroy print media or print form of delivery or print marketing. And that obviously didn't happen. If you go into any store today, there are shelves filled with magazines. There are whole magazines that are really just advertisements. And there are a ton of magazines. I mean, it's continually growing each year. And not just that, you still get mail. So print has not gone away. It's still a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I still get print from Facebook. Well, still I get print from Facebook, from Google, from LinkedIn. And so because of that, you have to begin to ask yourself a question right out the gate: is why would those three largely digital companies invest billions of dollars to hire copywriters, to pay for print, ink, material, and postage if they didn't have to, or if they didn't think it was a viable option to make money on? The reason why they do those things is because they know, even though they would prefer not to waste that kind of money, they know that it's a necessary component of growth. And so what you had after that was you had TV, and TV came in, and the assumption was TV was going to kill print and radio, and every marketers flooded the market with the capabilities of doing those components. And then today we have digital, and digital is a form of delivery just like the other ones are. And Dan Kennedy, a great direct response marketer, talks about some of these components as well. But the point being, every mode of delivery that has existed in human history has assumed it was going to destroy and or needs to be the priority over the other ones that are already in existence. And so you have people that flood the market, they specialize in it, and then as the next one gets invented, you have the same thing that comes up. And the thing about the people that have a much more holistic approach to marketing, meaning they don't throw any of those modes that I just explained out the window, as people jump on the next bandwagon for whatever mode of delivery that is, they the other components that didn't get utilized as much all of a sudden begin to get utilized. And they actually go further, because the people that left those other modes of delivery have left the markets that are still profitable wide open for a lot of other people. And so the point there is that each person embraces their form of marketing as the primary thing, and they leave out the history of marketing. They leave out the multitude points of differentiation that they could set up their clients with and deliver different forms of marketing, because what it's all predicated on isn't the mode that you're going to deliver the message, but it's predicated on understanding the audience. Because the better you can understand your audience, the better you can deliver that message to that audience in very creative ways. And maybe in weeks to come, I'll share some of the ways that we do that, some of the ways I've done that with clients, some of the ways we're doing that right now. We're finding unique ways and unique approaches to deliver the right message at the right time. And I don't lead with digital. Not that you can't, but one of the ways to earn a lot of money quickly is to look for what nobody else is doing. And you can cut through the noise pretty quick. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't do digital by any means, and that's not even what I'm arguing for today. So, maybe let me start there too. So, digital, again, just to clarify, digital is taking it. What it should be doing is taking the unique selling proposition of a company and delivering it through a digital platform, right? So, but the problem is we just go in with some other components like the bottom of the sales funnel and just offer the services and deliver that as quickly as possible, and but without really establishing what's the unique component of this company, and how do I do research on the company, and how do we do research. So there's some components that have been jumped over, and that's why I'll need to go back to print, because there's some things that have been missing because digital is so easy. Um, so with that said, digital marketers are essentially taking the mode of delivery and they're embracing it without points of differentiation. And the problem there again is that, um, they're in charge of the entire marketing process. They're in charge of all the marketing. And what I'm arguing for is that as business owners become much more savvy as to what a expected return on investment ought to be, they're going to begin to, because there's only so long that terms like brand awareness and brand exposure can actually keep you employed. And the problem with a lot of digital footprint marketing is that they snowball over business owners and say things like you need to have shares, you need to have likes, you need brand awareness, you need brand exposure. And I've heard it, I've heard it said, and the reality is, sure, yeah, you do, but that should be on the that should be built on the back of investments that have expected returns. So any brand exposure should be something that you're gaining through actually investing in different modes of marketing that's getting you a return on your investment. And so when I say the death of the digital marketer, what I actually hope to see is that more businesses will continue to employ and hire digital marketers, but they don't put digital marketers in charge of the entire marketing campaigns, in charge of all the marketing of their company. They should be a micro asset with clear expectations and clear measurable goals, but they should not be the ones in charge of their entire marketing, which leads me back to where we've come from a marketing perspective. And I think one of the issues that I see nowadays is, I have a friend who has this old like mini newspaper, and I think it was from like a church or something, or a little magazine that a church had printed back in I want to say like 17 or 1800s. And it was really cool. I'm flipping through and taking pictures because there's all these little advertisements in it. It's like a brochure or a handout. There's all these little like snippets and like components. Back then you had to like draw your art like with ink, right? Because it was going to be printed on black and white paper. Excuse me. And you had to actually like draw out your advertisement through that. Then they'd make copies, and then you'd have to have like headlines, and you just have to literally write out your headline to make it bigger than your text. And then later they had typewriters, and you had to jump through some of those hoops as well. But the thing about print that was unique in the human history of marketing is that, and it's still true today, that because it's so expensive, you quickly become the emperor with no clothes if you don't know what you're doing. So you can imagine a campaign that goes out. We found this magazine. We're going to create this ad. We're going to write this ad out, and we're going to put it in the magazine, print it. It's going to lead to this offer. And sorry, excuse me. And when that offer comes out, what's going to happen is you're going to have measurable results. And if you suck, it's going to become very evident within a couple months if you don't know what you're doing. And what had to happen in the print marketing world is, because you only get one shot at each campaign, because you have to go through the copywriter who's going to write the ad. You're going to go through your offer. You're going to decide where the ad needs to be placed to find the right audience. And there's an expense. There's a front-loaded expense that then you send out and you see what you reciprocate from that marketing campaign. Therefore, over time, people went to agencies to hire people that were really good at writing copy and really knew how to research the customer and really knew how to write an ad. So there was an expense and there was an exposure component of marketing in a way that wasn't correct. I want to say that again. There was an expense and there was a composure. There was a component of being able to measure your effectiveness that was quickly seen. And what that meant is you had to be on top of your game. It also left some opportunity from very lucrative um, income, and it still does, because if you know what you're doing, you can charge a great fee for copywriting. On the low end, you're at like $5,000 to be contracted out to write the ad. Average is you're going to be at $10,000 to $20,000 to get somebody to do the copywriting for your campaign, and then anywhere from 10 to 15% of royalties for that ad if you want to hire somebody that's really good at it. And you have some opportunity as a copywriter to make a lot of income with that kind of thing. And so what that meant for other people, what that means today is, because you can run to a computer and you can type out an ad and it doesn't cost the company anything. There's no, like, if you write out a new landing page on a website, like, your hosting company doesn't say that's going to be $200 to write out this new landing page. And typically, if you're going to your web designer or you're going to your digital marketer, they're going to charge you, maybe an hourly rate of $125. So you're looking at an hour. But little research has been done regarding the customer or the offer, and even, sorry, excuse me, or even where that's going to be placed, other than some little tricks in digital marketing that are not very customer centric. They're just things that worked in other businesses that they worked for, so they're repeating the same thing over and over again. So what happened back in the day was there was a large investment, there was a lot on the line, and you got exposed very quickly. What's happening today is, because the mode of delivery is so inexpensive to actually create the ad, it's lowered the bar of entry. So therefore, you have web designers who are also marketers. I'm not against you if you're a web designer and you're marketing. I'm just saying that you need to be able to cross-reference. If the person you're hiring is your web designer and your marketer, you need some components to know measurable results from the past or something that, or even how are you going to measure their success in the future? Those things are the reality. And so what I'd like to encourage you to do, just let's think about how to go forward from here. What I encourage every client that I do consulting with is to think of everything in tight components or tight campaigns. Like, put everything in a box, even if it seems silly to put it in a box, something that's just super easy you can do. And that box means whatever form of advertising you're going to do, you are going to place some way to measure the results. I don't want to hear brand exposure. I don't want to hear brand awareness as a measurable result. Now, there are different forms of measurable results. It doesn't always have to be income. So I completely understand that. If you're looking at different areas of entry and you're at an awareness stage or a trust stage or whatever different funnel component you're looking at, I understand that growth and organic traffic may be a component. The point that I'm making today is that you just have a way to measure the success of the people that you're bringing on your team, to say, this is how we're going to measure this next campaign to see if it's a profitable campaign. All right. So that's the main component. So as I'm thinking through, like, digital marketer, I've already explained a digital marketer is taking that message and delivering it digitally. A health of a company is based on the diversity of how you're getting returns on your investment when it comes to marketing. If you hire a consultant or somebody that knows what they're doing, they're going to help you build a diverse amount of marketing channels. And why that's stable is because if one falls, so if you hire a digital marketer and they're doing paid ads and you're getting, you're putting in $1 and you're getting $1.10 or you're getting $2, if it's good, then you need to just be ramping up your input. and adding more money to that channel. And then what you want to do pretty quickly is to add on your next channel. You're going to find some channels that don't have profit in them. They don't work for your market. And you're going to cross it off. That's an educated guess on doing business. You're going to find things that work in other industries, but they don't work for yours. Um, and then the point is, you're going to go, let's say PPC ads. You're going to go direct mail pieces. You're going to go um, a radio ad, if that's where your audience is, a TV ad, a magazine ad, all these different little tight components that you're measuring. And as you're measuring, you're able to decide, how diverse am I? The worst number to have in business is one. And that even means, and this is the one I hear all the time, we are doing great with referrals. We built our business on the back of referrals and word of mouth. And it's like a point of pride, and it's great. Now, don't get me wrong. That indicates that you have something very special and unique. What it also indicates is that you've been missing the boat on a lot more money somewhere else. So you should be able to say, yeah, we made a ton of money on referrals and word of mouth, but boy, we're also making, for every dollar that we put in, we get $5 back in this marketing channel. So just because it's been working, it doesn't mean it's the only thing that's worked, because there's a point in which that could stagnate, and it becomes more stagnant. And at that point, that's when companies fail, because they have one marketing channel that's working, and they've went to one main marketer, a digital marketer typically is the case, who hasn't performed. So that's that. That's the evolution of the marketing field. Let me see what else I put on here over on LinkedIn. Why is it so important for business owners to not let their DM run all their marketing? I think I covered that. Let's see. I don't know. It looks like I have one person on here. As people watch this, I'll keep it up later and we can see. I didn't post anywhere that I was doing this. I mean, I just shared it, but I didn't let anybody know, hey, don't forget. So, let's see. Why is it important for business owners to not let the digital marketer run all their marketing? And again, because that's not where your customers are. Your customers just aren't digital. They're just not. And the better you can understand your customer, the more comprehensive you can find somebody that's looking into the components of who your customer is, the more unique you can approach that customer with ways that not everybody is doing. Everybody's doing digital. So you can either just keep doing digital, and I'm definitely not saying get rid of your digital marketer, because there's some huge returns. It's one of the main profitable channels for a lot of the customers that I'm consulting with. But it's not the only one. And certainly, if they're running all your marketing, they can't help you diversify. So now you've got everything in one basket, one service provider, and one is the loneliest number in business. And you will face some very tough learning curves if you don't begin to diversify. I have no other way to sugarcoat that. There's no way that I owe it to you to be very upfront and say, if the only way you're making money right now is digital marketing, you're in trouble. Because eventually you're up against everybody else, first of all. Second of all, you're not having any unique approach that has some serious upswings to it. And third of all, if there's any little glitch in the matrix of the digital world, you are out of business. And just don't, I don't care what actually mode it is, diversify. Micro versus macro campaign. So really, again, I guess if I could illustrate this, if you think of like a war campaign, you have a general that's typically, my grandfather was actually in the Korean War. He just turned 90 on the 7th. And he was in the Korean War. And, we were at a restaurant just last week, and there was another Marine there. And my grandfather went and said hi. This guy was in Vietnam. And my grandfather was in Korea, and the guy said, "Oh, you were in Korea." He's like, You didn't happen to be in the Chosin Reservoir battle, were you?" And he said, "Yes, he was." And it's this battle, that is pretty well known amongst people that do like war research, where China entered into the Korean War, and they were the Marines were largely outnumbered on this ridge, and they fought their way out. And the general had some interesting, he basically said, "Hey, the good part here is as they were charging the hill is, men, we can shoot in any direction and hit somebody." And the point was like, he was trying to find the positive in the middle of some chaos. And again, like, I'm not promoting war. I think that that's positive or anything, but just to reiterate, like, how important it is to have people that can think differently in different circumstances. And if you think of all of your marketing as a way to win the war of business, what what you have in wars, you have, different divisions, you have different battlefronts. You have micro wars going on, or within the entirety of the battle. You have ships that have entered. So you have like the Navy, and you have the Marines, and you have the Army, and you have the Air Force. And so there are micro wars that are happening within the larger component of the war. But what you don't want is, you don't want somebody that's just specialized in, let's say, hand-to-hand combat running the entire war, because the war is much more diverse than that, much more complex than that, and it's going to look differently in different climates, and different components are going to enter into it. So you need somebody that's versed in all of those components. And so the same is true when it comes to the marketing of your company. If you put somebody that's, back in the day, here's a classic example. Back in the day, there was the yellow pages that everybody flooded to. And if you have the right market, the right demographic, there's still some profitability there. But if you go to Google and you search for yellow page uh, ad designer, I'm sure you can see some results, even if they're 10 years old. And the point being, like, you could come in and you can enter into the conversation of what worked, and you can find people that specialized in certain services because they were new, but then those services go away. So what you need is somebody to be diverse. You need diversification of your marketing. I can't stress that enough. But you need to look at it as micro wars. So I wouldn't want the yellow page ad designer in charge of all my marketing. Because if that was the case, then I have all my eggs in that basket. And when that component left the majority of the industry, or a new component entered in, your business would have been wiped out. That was a micro component of the war. That was a micro component of the growth of your company, which had some profitability, and had you had diversification. And we've had clients that they came on board because they were wiped out because of the yellow page ads that stopped performing, but really grew some successful businesses. And so when you hire a digital marketer, and I'll be wrapping up here in a second, when you hire a digital marketer, they're a micro component. They're a component of the entirety of your marketing. And I hope this makes sense. You have a lot of diverse opportunities to meet your customers where they're at, and digital should be one. It could even be the one leading the pack. But if somebody has as their job description digital marketer or yellow page ad creator, they know a single channel, a single mode of delivering your message, which is great. But don't put them in charge of all your marketing. Put somebody that has a background with copywriting, with print, with magazine, with media buyers, all of the components that are going to make the diverse opportunities available to you. Let's see, what is a direct response marketer? Direct response marketer really comes down to a few components, and I'll get into a more specific definition. So direct marketers out there, just calm down. Don't get too upset at me. I guess if I thought about it, there'd be some components to it. One would be a direct response marketer is somebody who's marketing looking for a direct response from the consumer, which is predicated on having a form of measuring that response and storing it. So you have a message, and it's sent directly to a consumer, expecting a very specific way to respond that's measurable, and you're storing the information. That's off the cuff. There's some more diversity to that, and I'll share with you some other definitions, and we'll land on something better. Why you shouldn't get suckered into terms like brand recognition or brand awareness. I mean, again, like, those things don't pay your rent. They don't pay employees, and fine. If somebody says, hey, every time we build brand recognition and brand awareness, our customers make X amount. My thing when it comes to the people that are really pushing brand awareness, there's a couple things that turn me off on that. One is typically the guys that are pushing the creative brand awareness stage, all they're doing is they're talking about the company. All the creative things that I see roll out are all about the company and not the customer. It's like, okay, most websites today are online brochures, right? So like they're just like the about us, but just looks prettier on the homepage. Most creative brand awareness campaigns are all about the business. And I'm sorry, like that's just not what the customer is concerned about. That's great that you have a beautiful looking creative aspect that's going to build brand awareness, but it's not going to sell anything. And you're definitely not going to be able to measure anything by it. And what I'd love to see from some of the creatives on the brand awareness side of things is to take that creative aspect of what they do, and instead of delivering the world more about us, more about your company, more about how great you are. I'm sure you're great, and it's good to hear those kind of things, but make something about the customer, make something about the product that's not just brand awareness, but speaks directly to them and has a measurable component, so that that beautiful artistic component can be tracked to selling more products or services, which leads you to profit more from the creative. Because if you have a trackable widget, is what it's traditionally called, that people, when they respond to that creative aspect that you've made, because a lot of brand awareness guys have a very artistic component to what they do, and you can utilize that with some trigger that can be tracked to selling more products and services, and you got paid based on what your creative delivered in terms of sales. You wouldn't just get paid once, you get paid over and over and over again. And that's when I'm dying when I see some of that stuff. I'm like, come on, guys. Again, like brand awareness, it's just not trackable. So if your brand recognition and brand awareness strategy can bring money, then prove it. And then we'll talk about how effective it is, and why you need it in your business. But as of right now, most of what I see, it's just uh it's just to snowball the business owner to go pay me money so I can be creative. And you're not going to be able to track any of this. So how should you think? Last question: how should you think of marketing as a whole going forward? Think of it in campaigns. The more you can compartmentalize your marketing and put it in campaigns you can test, show an ROI, the more you can grow rapidly, because you can see, where am I inserting dollars that's giving me dollars back more than I put in. So let me go back to the stream here. Let's see. That's really all we got. That's all I got for you today. This was a lot easier. I am again on the in my car, so it's not the best environment, but it's where it's quiet today, and I wanted no distraction. So I don't see anything in the chat. Hope that made sense, and I'll be seeing you guys next week to talk about the next subject yet to be determined. So take care, and we'll see you again.